Hello, YouTube. So, I've been going around online recently, and I've seen a lot of hate and or love for Nintendo. Typically, right now, it is mostly hate, as they are doing some really shitty things. But, as for everything, I want to do something different. I want to make the Nintendo unwish list. Something that is different from a wish list, but things that I wish that I hope don't happen. So, let's go onto our Nintendo unwish list. Now, you must be wondering, why am I doing a Nintendo Switch 2 unwish list? Honestly, it's because I'm already pretty sure that I'm gonna get all the things that I want out of the Nintendo Switch 2. We're already gonna have a Smash Brothers on the way. It doesn't matter to me if it's just a deluxe of Ultimate, because, I'm pretty okay with that game. Give me all the rest of the stages from the series, and give me all the, just new characters. I'm chilling. Like, straight up. I have other games to play, other platform fighters that I'm playing. So, I don't care if Ultimate carries over to the next generation like Mario Kart 8 did. I also don't care if we get an entirely new game and a fresh reboot on the series. I don't really care what happens with Smash Brothers at this point, because I'm pretty content with the series as a whole. And then Splatoon has a new game coming out, and presumably Splatoon 4 is already being created. I mean, it'd be nonsense to think that it isn't. So, in my own opinion, I have pretty much everything that I want. For a few exceptions, I'll add a bonus at the end for my actual 2 wishlist games. But that'll be at the end of the video. If you want to skip there now, go ahead. If you don't care about anything else, fine by me. Just remember though, this is not a hate video on Nintendo. These are just things a fan of Nintendo doesn't want to happen. And that's pretty much it. This is not some, Nintendo is trash, I hate them kind of video. This is more of a just look into Nintendo right now and being like, man, this would kind of ruin stuff for me. And that's about it. Variable pricing sucks. Right? Get out of here. We don't want that. It is an incredibly dumb marketing model or pricing model. And I think that it should just go away, because variable pricing isn't something that any consumer wants. It's a way for Nintendo to shell out more money off of you and just say, hey, we think this game is really good. That means you're gonna pay more money for it. And, it's just kind of lame, Like, some game can come out that they spent, a while making, and it could be dog ass. I'm just saying. It could be pretty bad. And I don't want a game to come out with the intentions of not being a complete game just so they could sell it at a higher price because they took a while to make it. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they would have sold Metroid Prime 4 for like $80, and I still don't know the price of it, so I'm gonna fact check that right now. But I think that it is kind of dumb that Mario Kart World is $80. And here's the reason why. That game is clearly a spin-off of Mario Kart in general. Just like how Double Dash was almost like a spin-off. Most people just count that as part of the normal Mario Kart series, but I see that as a spin-off, and it was a great spin-off as well. That game was incredible. I love Mario Kart Double Dash. It introduced incredibly, just new mechanics. It introduced a completely new way of playing the game and racing around. And it didn't stick. It was its own thing. And that's what I want Mario Kart World to be remembered as. Its own thing. But its own thing ain't gotta cost $80. I'm just saying. It is not okay for Mario Kart World to be the game it is, having to be updated constantly to even be in an okay spot. And I'd still recommend that game at $50. I wouldn't recommend that game any lower than $50 or any more, because it is not a complete game. There are many problems with it that I'm not going to go into, but the fact that those problems had to get updated out of the game almost on a week 1 patch, and then it is still not that complete, You know, they could have had a fun spin-off for Mario Kart while people were waiting for Mario Kart 9 to come out. A game that's more in line with the rest of the series, like Mario Kart Wii or 8, or even 7. So I think it is kind of dumb that Mario Kart World is $80 and it was set as this complete redo of Mario Kart when it's clearly just a spin-off. And there's nothing wrong with being a spin-off. Splatoon Raiders is coming out. That's a spin-off that I'm really excited for because it's going to lean into the single player just on its own. So I think that Mario Kart World will hopefully get a chance to be remembered as a fun spin-off of Mario Kart that had a Knockout Tour. One of the really genuinely fun mode. I love Knockout Tour. But that only will happen once we are able to emulate the game. And that's when Nintendo stops selling that for $80. And that's probably never going to happen. So, hopefully, variable pricing is unwished. Now, the next thing up on the unwish list is generative AI. And I know that Nintendo probably won't do this one. I have a lot of hope and faith in this I have to be very optimistic about this one. But I'm pretty sure Nintendo isn't going to lean into AI in the way that we think of it right now, which is generative AI. However, I do think Nintendo will probably have some kind of AI system within the near future for moderation purposes. Potentially a moderation service that is like for Smash Ultimate, like custom stage builders, because those things are kind of out of whack, and that is being presented to kids online, and no, that is very bad. If there is one thing that AI could do is detect things like that and just be like, no, get it out of there, or anything like that. Probably be a very primitive version of AI just to see things and not let it be uploaded, and that's kind of about it. I don't see them using generative AI though, ones that will actually take jobs away from people and leave them with nothing, like coding. There is an AI that came out recently that is supposedly the most scary AI in the world that has found many software breaches that have been out and exploits that have been existing for 15-20 years in a lot of services that no one just knew about, and it found it within like a couple of weeks. So, you know, that's terrifying. Not only that, but there's also AI that are just doing better at coding than humans can. And I don't mean better as in they are more quality. I mean, they're able to just do it faster. And we do not want that. We don't want any of that. We want human-made stuff because that is where the creativity comes from. AI will just spit out things for you and just give it to you, and that's kind of it. Meanwhile, if a human did it, you actually have to think, and that human will probably be able to go like, hey, this might be dog ass, or hey, I came up with a way better idea and now they can implement it. Or even just being like, yeah, I like this, and they're even more motivated to keep going instead of just typing prompts into a machine and doing nothing. Not only that, but the art industry as well is getting really fucked by AI, and that is really bad. And I don't want to see Nintendo lean into it, and I still don't think that they are going to, honestly. But I will still say I unwish this. Up next on the unwish list is Nintendo Switch 2 editions, although not what you're thinking. I like the idea of having Switch 2 editions for certain games. It gives certain games that were on the Switch 1 a chance to be better for the next generation, and being able to replay old games on a new hardware. However, selling back your frame rate to you for $5 and tossing in some shit we didn't want is not what we need for Nintendo Switch 2 for old games at all. That is ass. It is turbo dog ass. Because what they are doing is compiling a whole bunch of cool stuff that you'd actually want. Let's take, for example, the Bella Bell Park meetup. That is an actual expansion to the game. That is actually pretty good. It is, honestly, really cool. They add a new character, they add a whole bunch of new levels, and they give you more to do with the game. Now, on the opposite side of the spectrum, we have Animal Crossing New Horizons $5 frame rate boost, and that's about it. You get everything else in the free update that was free. All of the new content they added was entirely free, which I think is great. I think that's amazing. But then they're just selling you the ability to use a megaphone to call your villagers to you, and being able to use the mouse mode behind a $5 paywall, included with higher resolution. And we all saw the trailer. All saw that one trailer. They had to zoom in to the screen so you could see the pixels and could tell the difference of the resolution. Because there is no difference. There is nothing you're gaining by getting the Animal Crossing New Horizons Switch 2 edition. It is shameful for them to have that. Even if it's just $5, because they know how valueless it is. The fact that they're still doing it, despite the fact that it is basically nothing. They're just making it paid just to get that tiny bit of money out of you, because to them, that adds up. For you, $5 ain't that bad. Whatever, it's a $65 game now if you bought the Switch 1 edition and wanted to get the complete edition for the Switch 2. $65. You're like, whatever. But then Nintendo adds up all that money from everyone who said whatever, and that's how they get it. That's how they get you. And it's the same thing with the Switch 1 editions of games. Switch 1 editions of games are $60. Let's say Metroid Prime 4. It was $60, and now it's $70 on the Switch 2. Because why? Oh, you gotta use a mouse mode and have a higher frame rate. That is not okay. Imagine Mario Kart World came out on the Switch 1, and it was $60, and on the Switch 2 it's $80. Just because of higher resolution, higher frame rates. The developers did not add value to the game by adding anything to it. They made it compatible with higher resolutions and software, and Nintendo is making you buy your frame rate back. And that is so lame. Imagine you bought a PC, and you had a really bad PC before. Let's just say it was a $500 PC. And you're like, man, I can't play GTA 5 on it. But just imagine you bought a PC, and you were trying to play GTA 5 on it, and it wasn't really running at all. The game you bought it for, let's say it was $30. GTA 5 is $30, you bought it, you couldn't really play it that much, but you had your fun with it when you could. You bought a new PC that cost $2,000, and you went to go play GTA 5, but then it said, uh-oh, looks like your graphics card is pretty new. You're gonna have to pay an extra $30 to play this game. And you're like, what? That is what Nintendo is doing with the Switch 2. They are making you pay more money because you bought their console and gave them more money. And I think that's the lamest thing ever. If I'm gonna play Metroid Prime 4, I am going to buy the Switch 1 editions of all of the games. Like, if any game has a Switch 1 edition and it has a Switch 2 edition, I am buying the Switch 1 first because you can always just upgrade to the Switch 2 edition later. If I really want to bite that bullet just for a higher frame rate, just to enjoy it a little bit more, I can just buy the Switch 2 edition later. And I can keep the cartridge of the Switch 1. And that is just so lame that I have to think about that. Because Steam would never have you do something like that. And I just imagine you had to buy more frame rate because you just decided to get something that is better and more suited for you. Something that is more powerful. And I think that is entirely lame, and I unwish it out of existence. Well, that's about all I could think of currently for the things that I wish Nintendo to not do in the future. And I kept it mostly relegated to their games. The company itself and everything surrounding the ecosystem currently isn't something that I'm going to jump into, although I did talk about it a little bit. I'm trying to keep this focused mainly on just the games themselves, and not the overall what's going on in the world. However, I really hope these things do come true. I just don't want these things to happen. I mean, some of these are already happening, and I hope it stops. And this video isn't to come after Nintendo to be like, man, everyone like boycott them. And it is not something like that. I love the company. The company doesn't love me. I love their games. You know, some of their games don't love me. And it's just kind of how it is. But now on to something a little bit more lighthearted. This is going to be my actual Nintendo Switch 2 wishlist. I only have a couple of things to talk about, so let's get it over with. The first thing on my wish list is for Koei Tecmo to do whatever they want. And I say this completely broad statement because I really like the company. It is no secret to most of my friend group that I really like Koei Tecmo, not just because of their games, but because they make great ones. And they do everything they can if they get a license. They do all the stuff they can. They do incredible music. They follow art direction insanely well. Their gameplay always hits. Koei Tecmo is probably one of my most trusted developers, aside from Sakurai himself. And I say this because I have played so many of their games, and they've all been bangers in my library. Attack on Titan 2, The Final Battle, absolute banger. It cost $40, and Koei Tecmo made it all on their own. Fire Emblem Three Houses, Koei Tecmo made it. Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Koei Tecmo made it. And it is always just so much fun to be able to, just play these games. They might be brainless sometimes. They're warrior games. I enjoy warrior games because they are just fun. And I think they hit every time. Even their own Dynasty Warrior series is an amazing franchise. And I think that Koei Tecmo, if they just had a little bit more freedom with some of their IPs that they can get from Nintendo, we could have the absolute most insane warrior game known to man. And I'm talking about Super Smash Bros. Warriors, yeah, baby! In all seriousness, I just want to see them do more warrior stuff with different IPs from Nintendo. I think they can make really good strategy games as well as just great warrior games. Maybe there could be something with Pikmin in it. I'm not saying it's going to be a warrior game, but I'm saying that I think they could try their hand at a Pikmin-type experience. And I'm also saying that there should be a Kirby Warriors game, because that would be genuinely fire. I think Kirby is a franchise that could do a warrior game really well, just because of how crazy Kirby can already get. So, just imagine a warrior game for Kirby in the same direction they took Air Ride, with Sakurai's help, or even without his help, just with the original Kirby team. Give Koei Tecmo some freedom, have them work with the Kirby team and or Sakurai and or all of the above, and we have one banger of a game on the way. And I say this with all seriousness, a Kirby Warrior game would be absolute fire. Put that on my wish list. Up next on my wish list, I actually have something to announce. And this is kind of crazy, so please take a look.
Bing bing bam dum dum bum bam bam bum 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 bum.
What's going on?
No. That's not real. God, I hope not. The day that Crazy Frog gets into Smash is the day that Satan comes back. But in reality, my actual wishlist game is something called Super Mario Sprinters, a animation made by ND, which isn't an actual game, but the concept of it is actually really fire. It's basically just a Super Mario racing game, but instead of, carts, it is platforming. And I think that's kind of fire. And I wouldn't want to see Nintendo do something similar to that with the Mario franchise. Make a more competitive, focused, item-driven Mario platformer that is all focused on getting a fast time. It could be randomly generated. The courses could have just random elements in it. You can make your own courses. It could just basically be Mario Maker 3 if it really wanted to. So I think this is really fire. And also, Mario Maker 3 is going to be called Mario Maker 3D. You cannot change my mind. Anyway, that's about everything I have to show. I mean, there is no real way to gauge any of this. This is just kind of me rambling and my thoughts on everything at the moment. And I really do believe that everything that I've said that is going to come out will come out. I'm pretty sure that I have everything that I want from the Switch 2 already. Donkey Kong Bonanza is a great game. I don't need a 3D Mario. Honestly, I'm good with Donkey Kong being the only 3D platformer on the Switch 2. Maybe at the end of the Switch 2's life, I would want to see a 3D Mario to see what they can come up with at the end of it, but that's about it. I don't mind waiting another generation to get another 3D platformer from the Odyssey team, because they do incredible work. But yeah, that is about everything that I have to go over today, and I don't really know what else to put in here, so this is where we end off. See ya.